Hey guys, Alex and Dan from 7th Hour Films back again with Doctor Who. Last time around was the Christmas Invasion. What was that one about?
Well, 9 had just regenerated into 10, and he was out of it very much like Davison was. Took him an entire episode to really come around. There were some plastic Santas that were pilot fish, the forerunners of some new invasion. And the Doctor essentially managed to scare them off, but Harriet Jones, former Flydale MP and now Prime Minister, ordered Torchwood to incinerate them as they were retreating, which unit, I guess, or Torchwood, whoever did, and the Doctor was very upset with her and spread some rumor that she was in ill health. But again, it kind of, once again, like the whole Bad Wolf thing in the first season, it's setting up Torchwood without ever telling us what it ever really is.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah. The most we know is that Torchwood seems to be separate from UNIT. And she wasn't even supposed to know about it, is what she said. But somehow she did. And yeah, ordered them with their alien tech that she said that they recovered 10 years ago to destroy the Sycorax. So, and then the Doctor spread the health rumor, and in like 3 hours that had become a national story. So, I guess he was right. He could take down her government very easily. So, but yeah, that was our first proper Christmas special. That business in the Daleks master plan, that doesn't count. So,
which, by the way, that popped up in my memories on Facebook, the episodes 9 through 12, and there was a lot of agreement with us that yes, the whole thing was a bit overloaded, but a lot of disagreement. People who said no, this was a brilliant story, but they all conceded that Terry Nation was a great idea man, but not the greatest writer in the world.
Yeah, and I mean we saw that later when you'd have, like, I don't even remember, like Destiny of the Daleks, I think, was written by him. Maybe, I don't know. I don't fully remember that one, but all I remember about that one was it being boring. So,
isn't that the one where they all end up getting frozen in the giant lake there? Or was that something else? Was that Evil of the Daleks? No, that was the introduction to Troughton, wasn't Evil of the Daleks?
No, that was Power of the Daleks.
Power of the Daleks.
Look, there's too many blank of the Daleks episodes. There's still a couple, even in modern Doctor Who. It'll be a while before we get to them, but I mean, no, the Daleks are never coming back. What am I talking about? They were all destroyed. So
yeah.
Anyway, but now we are on to the proper season premiere, season 2 or series 2 or season 27 or 28, whatever we're on. I don't know. Look, it's season 2 of the modern era.
Yes.
The modern era, which technically doesn't, which may or may not have ended recently. I don't know. I don't know. It's not.
We're not concerned with that.
Yeah, we're on this episode. So, however you number this season, it is the first episode of the season. So the full unedited reaction is down in the description or in the pinned comment for free. You can watch it or not. I wouldn't blame you if you don't. It is a thing where it's like, I offer these full lengths to people. I don't even watch. I don't watch my own full lengths. I'm there anyway. And B, I pretty much don't watch other channels' full length reactions. So I don't know. But if you want it, I mean, people have always wanted these Doctor Who ones, especially. So yeah, you can go watch that if you want or not. Either way, we'll be watching it, and then there will be a discussion at the end. So, you got anything else?
I got nothing.
Then why don't we just jump right into season 2, episode 1.
You notice the new police box in that last shot there in the background? Although that may just be a phone booth.
Yeah.
That's the ones I remember. I don't know that we had a police box in Milden Hall.
Is the year 5,023,000,023. We're in the galaxy M87, and this is New Earth. Strictly speaking, it's the 15th New Earth, is the original. So that makes it new.
So different.
New Doctor.
Most Americans don't realize that there's actually a York in England.
No.
Come on then. Let's go and buy some grapes.
Rose Tyler. I knew
Whoa.
it. Dirty blonde assassin. She's coming here, mistress.
She got better.
Beyond coincidence. This is destiny. At last I can be revenged on that little...
Bit rich coming from you.
I can't help it. I don't like hospitals. They give me the creeps.
Commence stage 1 disinfection. Commence stage 1 disinfection.
It's like a car wash.
There you go. It even did his hair.
The human child is clean.
I'm looking for Ward 26.
This way, Rose Tyler.
Alright, smart. They should not know your name this far in the future.
Nice place. No shop downstairs. I'll have a shop. Not a big one, just a shop. So people can shop.
The hospital is a place of healing.
Well, a shop does some people the world of good. Not me.
But is there no one here you recognize? It's rather unusual to visit without knowing the patient.
No. I think I found him.
The good old face of Bo.
We met just the once on platform 1. What's wrong with him?
I'm so sorry. I thought you knew. The face of Bo is dying.
No, the face of Bo.
He's thousands of years old. Some people say millions, although that's impossible.
Great makeup.
No,
Yeah.
I like impossible.
Billion-year-old technology.
Eh.
Anyway, oh, heaven, darling. Oh, don't stop it.
Wait a minute, that's... Peekaboo. Don't you come anywhere near me, Cassandra.
Why? What do you think I'm going to do? Flap you to death?
I saw it. You got ripped apart.
That piece of skin was taken from the front of my body. This piece is the back.
Right, so you're talking out your ass.
The mistress was lucky to survive.
And there's millions of humans out there. Millions of them.
Mutant stock.
They evolved, Cassandra. They just evolved like they should. You stayed still. You got yourself all pickled and preserved, and what good did it do you?
The sisters are hiding something.
What do you mean?
Oh, these cats have secrets. Hush, let me whisper. Come close.
You must be joking if you think I'm coming anywhere near you.
Chip, activate the psychograph.
Come in.
I know. You fell for it, fool.
Don't you let me from cast to brass. Although... curves. Oh, baby. It's like living inside a bouncy castle.
The mistress is beautiful.
Absolutely. Oh, but look.
Oh, the brain meat expired.
Meh.
Man. He's the doctor. The same doctor with a new face. That hypocrite. Let's get the name of his surgeon.
Meh.
It's that man again. He's my good luck charm. Come in. Don't be shy.
Any friendship expressed by the Duke of Manhattan does not constitute a form of legal contract. Pinch me up.
If this happens again, we might have to review our brainstem policy.
And what should we do with the patient?
Standard procedure. Incinerate.
Ouch.
Meh.
Honey, just.
terminal's this way.
Hello.
Still got it. No, nothing odd. Surgery, post-op, no dentistry, no sign of a shock.
I feel like he actually gets to be a doctor in this episode.
Looks like the tomb of the Cybermen.
I'm so sorry.
It's like the bubonic plague.
We tried using clone meat and biokettle, but the results were too slow. So the sisterhood grew its own flesh. That's all they are. Flesh.
These people are alive.
But think of those humans out there. Healthy and happy because of us.
If they live because of this, then life is worthless.
Same us.
I think we should withdraw.
If we understood what you did to us as part of the machine, we know the machine.
Let's face it. It's actually constructing an argument.
It's like the Matrix.
The flesh is free!
Stop the pain.
Yeah. You never took your own vaccines?
I'm sorry, I can't have this baby, my mistress!
Oh, poor guy. Okay.
Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Where'd she go?
Why? This is...
Sandra?
Goodness me, I'm a man. Young. So many parts. And hardly used. Two hearts. Oh, baby, I'm beating out of samba.
Get out of him.
Ooh, he's slim. And a little bit foxy. You thought so, too.
Not gonna help, Chip.
Sickness.
I don't think he would fall straight down.
Well, at least it'd be over quickly.
He'd be bouncing off the walls.
Oh, jab-tastic.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet lord. I look disgusted.
Hold on to it with everything you've got.
What about you?
I've got an appointment. The doctor is in. All I want to do is pass it on! Pass it on!
What? Pass on what?
Pass it on!
Like the nanogenes.
This feels so good.
I'm the doctor and I cured them. That's right. Hey, there we go, sweetheart.
Finally, that degree came in handy.
The one he got from the University of Edinburgh back in the 1800s.
Yeah.
It's a new run by cats, kept in the dark, fed by tubes, but completely alive. You can't deny them because you helped create them. The human race just keeps on going, keeps on changing. Life will out. Ha!
This is the NNYPD. Please step away.
The face of Bo.
Still there. Still a big face.
There was something you wanted to tell me.
A great secret.
So the legend says.
It can wait.
Oh, does I have to?
We shall meet again, Doctor, for the third time, for the last time, and the truth shall be told. Until that day.
Did you make a statement before you left?
That is enigmatic. that is textbook enigmatic.
I don't want to die.
No one does.
Help me.
I can't.
Mistress!
Oh, he made it.
Live.
You alright? Whoa! Okay.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome back. Oh, sweet lord. I'm a walking doodle. You can't stay here now. I'm sorry, Cassandra, but that's not fair.
It's all right. There you are. There you are. I've got you. It'll be all right. There. You poor little thing.
Died in her own arms. Alrighty.
Very interesting. Before we go on, I have to tell you, I meant to tell you earlier, I saw a meme this week. It was a sandwich that had bites taken out of the sides, but it had her face in the middle of it, and the caption said, "But darling, you've hardly touched your Cassandrich."
Oh boy. Alright.
Well, there's a meditation on so many different things there. You got the modern medicine that literally creates human-like people in order to cure real human people or human evolved people from the original planet Earth. You know, what is ethical or not ethical. Then you've got Cassandra and Chip, and you've got Rose and the Doctor, where we discover hidden feelings for each other. Now, we kind of knew that, but my understanding through season 1 is that Eccleston's Doctor, he didn't think paternally, wasn't her father figure or anything, but I did not get the impression that he was in love with Rose or had any kind of feelings other than she was a great companion and that's what he wanted from her. But this is trying to tell us something slightly different.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing, and it's sort of a point of debate within the fandom of... Because you're right, that they don't expressly have that sort of relationship with the 9th Doctor. But now, with the 10th, I mean, it at least makes sense that he's different, you know? He's not just, you know, the same man, just, you know, different faces. Like, there are different ways, you know, how Tennant portrays him, how he's written, just, you know, things are different with the 10th Doctor, but now that sort of has changed her relationship with him. And, yeah, it's something that is kind of debated whether or not this is a right move, basically, between Doctor and companion.
Well, and again, not knowing how this progresses over the next 2 or 3 seasons, unfortunately for me as a first-time viewer, what it sets up is that because I don't know how to express this without being insensitive, because David Tennant is more handsome, you know, better looking than Eccleston, that would influence her. Now, again, on a sub level somewhere down there, yes. I mean, we tend to be attracted to good looking people, but her attraction to Eccleston was his personality, and he was I don't want to say he was a protector. He was a guide. He was showing her all this wonderful stuff. She was happy to come along. You know, at times he called her another stupid ape. So you know, there was a dynamic there. They were very good friends, and I don't think this is where, if I were in the planning department of Doctor Who back in 2005, 2006, I don't know that I would have gone there with that.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely the thing of their relationship is originally built just on the two of them, you know? And it's not good from the get-go even, you know, like they had a bit of conflict in the second episode, you know, before she was really understanding what all of this traveling and everything meant. and it developed and it progressed. But now you're right that it is taking more of a romantic approach, and it is also interesting because just last episode she was saying, well, he's gone, the doctor's gone, this guy, I don't know what's going on with him, I thought I knew him, but now he does this, and this is all weird and strange. And so to suddenly kind of get to that where it's just like, okay, what do you, like, you were just sort of, I mean, yeah, it was great when he finally did get up last episode, but still. So it is definitely a point of contention in the fandom, which I'm sure they will say in the comments of this and future episodes as we go forward. So,
and again, not that this makes that much of a difference, but I'm sure Eccleston was only in his 30s when he played the Doctor, probably in his mid to late 30s, simply by the look of him, but I don't know for sure. But Tennant is obviously only in his early 30s at the most. Rose is supposedly 19 or 20.
Yeah, around that.
All right. And again, I'm not saying that there's a huge thing about, a 10-year age difference. But again, this is what they call in politics here in the United States, it's a balance of power issue. He is an older, more established, and of course the fact that he's actually 900 something years old.
Yeah.
That should not come into play. I don't think anywhere really in classic Who did they ever mean to suggest that there was any kind of physical or romantic relationship. Of course, most of the Doctors, like Hartnell, for example.
Yeah.
Other than Hartnell and the Aztec lady, that was kind of fun.
Yeah. The closest,
but not companions.
Well, the closest would probably be Romana, but Romana was probably that old anyway. Like, obviously she was much younger than the Doctor, but being a Time Lord, she was obviously not a kid, And so I just looked it up that Tennant is only about 7 years younger than Eccleston. So, but yeah, it is sort of a question of like, okay, well, should the Doctor even be engaged in this kind of a relationship, with where he says at the very last he said he's 900 years old. And just on a character basis, a guy who is 900 and a girl who is about 19. I mean, I know, there's some people that say age is just a number. And then there are other people that say, yeah, jail is just a place, So, it's a difficult debate within the fandom. One that probably persists to this day, even. But
yeah. Now, another thing I will say, this is written by Russell T Davies.
Yeah.
Again, the man has a knack for witty dialogue.
Yeah.
Right? I'm very impressed, both with what he did with Eccleston and now just these 2 episodes into Tennant's time here. Again, it's just you heard me laughing out loud at a lot of that stuff. It's very clever. To be honest, it's kind of on the level of Noel Coward. All right, this is a British writer from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Just very snappy dialogue. It's not jokes, but it is humor coming out of the situation and the characters. Yeah. And that's absolutely pure comedy right there. So I like the fact that they are continuing to keep this kind of comic streak in what are very serious stories. You can literally a plague on New Planet Earth, and again, although the Sisters of what are they? Plenitude.
Yeah.
Although their objective is noble, their methods are not.
Yeah. So, but it is an interesting idea of I mean, I just like the initial setup of New Earth. That it's like, oh, well, the old one is, blown to smithereens, which we saw last season. And it's like, well, all the humans, they get nostalgic. So they're like, well, we'll create a new Earth. So they do. They find this rock. It's nice. It's, perfect air, perfect orbit. It's exactly the same as the old Earth. So everyone just put a call out. everyone's coming home, everyone's coming to the new house, and then of course, from that, however far spread the human race was, and then it's like, that could bring so many diseases to so many different kinds of humans.
Now, something I don't think they explained, were the sisters indigenous to the planet?
I don't know. They don't say. So far as we know, they were just basically contracted by the humans to run the hospitals. So it's entirely possible there are more sisterhoods, around the cosmos. Yeah. But
now, minor point, but again, very subtle. And I don't know again how old Russell T Davies was when he was writing this, but and again, you may not know this. In 1969, when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin went to the moon and walked around on the moon's surface, when they came back along with Michael Collins, the first thing that NASA did to them was put them in quarantine because they had no idea that anything might still be living on the moon's surface. And therefore, if the astronauts had picked that up, they could actually bring some infectious disease back to Earth and, end up killing everybody accidentally. Michael Crichton, who everybody mostly knows for his Jurassic Park stuff, wrote a novel about that called The Andromeda Strain. And it was about this, it wasn't NASA, but somebody in the United States, that is some governmental body, had sent up a project circling the Earth. I think it was called Project Scoop. And the idea was to try to pick up anything beyond our atmosphere that we could then find out if there was life anywhere else in the universe. Unfortunately, there's a crash landing of the satellite, and it has a disease in it, an unknown disease to the Earth, and it starts killing hundreds and thousands of people. And they have to get this response team to come in and try to figure out how are they going to stop what it's called Project Wildfire. How are they going to stop the wildfire? So it's a brilliant film, brilliant novel, and they also made a great film out of it. If you've never seen The Andromeda Strain, you need to do that. And that's kind of echoed here, where you got a whole bunch of people who were all originally from Earth, scattered throughout the galaxy. They all come home, and like you said, bringing, without realizing it, every possible disease, whether it's the common cold or the bubonic plague, because a lot of those people look like they had the buboes, the actual sores there, to the flu, to COVID-19, to Ebola, to whatever. Just everything comes back. You got to go, okay, we got to put a stop to this.
Yeah, because that's the thing, is they say that the humans, they've all evolved into different creatures, basically, on every single place that they're at. But that doesn't mean they've all evolved into the same thing.
Yeah.
So,
that's the same with the early migration on Earth. From life in Africa, people headed east into what is now Asia and Australia. Then they headed north into, northern Asia and Europe. And then from there, spread out across the Bering Strait into North America and South America. So, and even though we're all essentially evolved from the same species, by moving to different geographical locations, it causes us to change not only externally, but internally as well.
Yeah. And there's no other way to segue into this, and this is just a complete tangent to everything, but because you mentioned the moon, did you hear that apparently the Earth is going to temporarily get a second moon?
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, what day is today? Today's the 28th when we're recording this, so tomorrow night, or at some point tomorrow, some asteroid is going to be caught in the Earth's orbit, and will go around for just one rotation, and then it'll head out. So we will temporarily have a second moon, and they said too, like, by the time it leaves, it should be around like mid to late November. So by the time like even this goes up, it'll be happening, and you might be able to head outside and see it. Presumably at night. I mean, it can't be such a big thing, but you should be able to see it at least. So that's interesting. I mean, it's interesting that that's just like never happened again. I mean, just the fact that it's like it's being caught specifically for one orbit, and then it's heading out. I guess anything else if it gets caught, it probably just ends up breaking up. So, there's also a while ago. I don't know if I referenced this on the channel or not, but there was a video talking about like what if the Earth accidentally got knocked out of the sun's orbit, and it was a really fascinating video, like talking about like basically the thing that would have to happen is another star, something pretty small, but would have to like pass through the solar system. I think they said this might actually be a thing that could happen, in a couple billion years or so, but basically another star would come through the solar system and would affect the gravity and would take the Earth, and Earth would just start flying away. And then that would be that. And it started talking about, as the sun gets dimmer in the sky and everything gets colder and everything, and the human race could survive if they plan, which there's 5 billion years, so we'll probably screw it up. But it was an interesting thing. And I remember there was one comment that was like, there's some comfort in the fact that even if the Earth is lost into the deep darkness of space, it will still have the moon, most likely. It's like, that is a kind of a comfort, at least, so.
And if humans don't survive, at least the cockroaches will. Apparently the cockroaches will survive everything, including nuclear annihilation.
Yeah, them and the Twinkies, so. Anyway, back to...
Yes, but Twinkies are so much more palatable than cockroaches.
Well, yeah. Back to Doctor Who.
To most people. Back to Doctor Who, yes.
Yeah. An interesting idea to bring back Cassandra, because she's not really the villain. She's not even really driving the conflict that's happening. She's just kind of caught up in it. But it's an interesting thing, kind of going in and like, hey, let's revisit. This is the technically second adventure with Tennant. Let's go back and let's revisit. Last season, there was so much about consequences. Everything that happened in the long game allowed the Daleks to completely take over the Earth. So I like still seeing consequences, like what happened to the humans and Cassandra after the end of the world. So that's really interesting, and her interesting ability of passing between bodies. I mean, a good for the actors. They get to try something a little different. So that was fun.
And again, Rose was doing some different accents, which reminded me that David Tennant, for everything we're going to see over the next 3 seasons, I don't hear a trace of his Scottish accent.
Nope.
That is brilliant work, because the longest I've ever had to do an accent, I think I did like 4 weeks of rehearsal and then 4 or 5 weeks of performance as in an Irish accent. And it got to the point where even when I was off stage, even though I was speaking normal American English, in my mind everything was coming out as Irish. So it takes a long while if you're really into. So again, just kudos to him for being able to do that, because unless you had told me, I would have never guessed that he was Scottish.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things, like, there's a podcast I watch that has 2 British guys and 1 Australian on it, and their podcast episodes can be like 2 hours long, and if I watch a whole thing, there's a part of me at the end that it's like, okay, I need to stop, I need to remember the American part of me, or else I'm gonna accidentally slip something out with their accents. So
never had to do Australian. I've done different kinds of British. Had to do Cockney in My Fair Lady the first time I did it. Had to do the upper class. I played Colonel Pickering in My Fair Lady the second time. Done several other British shows. Done Irish. I had to do a Spanish accented American accent in a show once. I did a Greek accent once. That was very hard. Had to listen to some tapes to get that down. So I again, doing accents properly so that the people from England who listen to a Scotsman trying an English accent, if he's doing it to their satisfaction, that's brilliant.
Yeah. And it's also interesting because there's another YouTuber I watch who is also from Australia, but like about 10 years ago or so, moved out to Los Angeles, and his Australian accent is just completely gone.
Yeah.
And it left, like, relatively quickly, and they say, like, yeah, you could just never tell that he was Australian until he's around another Australian, and then it all comes back in full force.
Well, that's like Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman is Australian. Mel Gibson was originally Australian, if I recall correctly, or he was an American who moved to Australia, but he had a very thick Australian accent when he did the first Mad Max, so much so that they literally had to dub somebody else in over it. Now, that's the story that I remember hearing. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but his Australian accent was so thick they had to dub it over because he couldn't be understood when they showed the movie in America.
Yeah.
In the United States. Sorry. I just read recently we should not call it America because Canada is America and Mexico is America and all the Central American countries and South American countries are also America. So I should say United States and not America.
Well, I remember I saw a clip from someone from a channel, and two of them were Canadians and one of them was French. And they were talking about, like, what was it? It was like letters in, like, cereal and stuff or something like that, or like alphabet soup or something like that. And he was like, I didn't think that was a real thing. I thought like I didn't know it was real until I moved to America. And they were like, you didn't move to America? He's like, yeah, I did. I'm in America. And they were like, oh, are you one of the people that says that Canada is America? And they were like, I hate that. It's just like, as far as I can tell, the Canadians do not want to be called Americans. Yeah. So,
but I was just in a production of Charlie's Aunt, and I did my best to do the RP, the received pronunciation, bean and again and things like that. But some other people in the show who have not had as much experience with British accent as I have, to hear them pronounce GET as git instead of get, and JUST as just instead of just. And it's just, I not my place as an actor, to say you're pronouncing that wrong. So I did the best I could with what I was saying and let everybody else do what they were doing.
Yeah. So, anyway, again, back
just
to
another comment though that somebody says, I love you guys and what you do on Doctor Who, but I really love the tangents that you go off onto, especially, and they were talking about when we talk about language and we talk about history. So
yeah, so
that's what you're going to get.
It all works out, It all works out. You guys are more here for that than actually talking about Doctor Who. So, I mean, it's also just the funny thing now in modern Doctor Who where it's like, whenever I see disagreements in the comments, it's just so funny to see it now because, in classic Doctor Who, it was normally we didn't care for an episode, and thus, we were awful, we were terrible, we were completely wrong. But now it's that more often than not, we like an episode, and the comments are like, nah, I didn't really care for that. And it's like, why did this change? Why did this change so much? It's such a weird thing. And even then, it's not even really disagreements with us. They're just saying, I didn't really care for this episode, not you fundamentally misunderstand this episode or anything. So, I don't know.
Well, again, I mentioned that a lot of the classic Who are popping up in my Facebook memories. And again, a lot of those comments, I just look at it and go, all right, we are literally watching this for the first time. So we have not studied it. We haven't gone back and rewatched. Yeah. Now, we've rewatched a couple of episodes. But, I mean, this is seriously just first-time reactions, a couple of goobs from the middle of the United States going, wow, that was kind of fun. Yeah. I enjoyed that.
It's just such a strange thing. And you're right that it's like, people's opinions formed on these episodes, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago now. And we're watching it for the first time, and sometimes we're like, oh, that's all right. And sometimes we're like, you didn't really care for that one. And, and it's not all the comments. We gotta make that clear. It's not all the comments. But on some of those comments, like, you would think we were the Antichrist talking about these episodes. Like, how dare we not enjoy... And the fact that kept going for 26 seasons. Like, it never stopped. There was never a point where it's like, okay, well, that's kind of over. Now we're all good. It's like, no. Pretty much all 7 of those doctors, there is something that we were like, yeah, that didn't work. And people were like, how dare? How dare you? They're about to throw down the white glove, you know? But now, I feel like with modern Doctor Who, we like weeded all those people out. And now we're just left with the core modern Doctor Who fandom. Yeah. So, but now all that leaves is the people that hate, you know, modern episodes because they're soap opera or they're too dramatic, or God forbid when we get further down the line and, you know, then the anti-woke crowd is going to show up. Oh my gosh. It's just, which, to be fair, and that's a weird thing to say, but to be fair, every fandom is going through that right now. Yeah. So,
but the whole series has evolved. I mean, go back to what Verity Lambert and who was the guy?
Sidney Newman.
What they started is absolutely not where they are now. But what they started is not what Pertwee was doing. Is not what Tom Baker was doing. Was not what any of them were doing. So shows evolve. You know, I read somewhere in the last week, because we had been talking about how there's a lot of what we see as Star Trek storyline type things in Doctor Who. And apparently Russell T Davies was a fan of Star Trek. So Star Trek evolved. I mean, Gene Roddenberry set out to create this utopian existence, but that wasn't selling.
Yeah,
and so he had to introduce the Klingons and the Romulans and the fact that there are warlike species. And yes, the United Federation of Planets was trying to bring peace to the galaxy, but there are just too many variables, and that's not. And there were people who said Gene Roddenberry would have hated what Star Trek has become. Well, yeah, he might have. There are a lot of things, even with Next Generation, which he was still alive for the beginning of that he didn't care for. But the fact is, it evolves. The whole thesis of these stories evolves. Going from Hartnell to where we are right here with David Tennant, again, Newman and Lambert would have looked at David Tennant and gone, oh, no. You know, you can't have a young Doctor. He's got to be old. He's got to be wiser. Well, he is older and wiser. He's just in the body of a 30-year-old man.
Yeah, so... Well, and even with, like, Roddenberry, like... I think like at least the first season of The Next Generation was a nightmare to create, because he would go in and be like, no, you can't do this. You have to. It has to be perfect. It has to be like this. And writers were looking at it like, okay, how do I create conflict in a utopian starship that doesn't have conflict at all? You know, like they can't have conflict between, you know, the people on the Enterprise. It's like, okay, so what do we do then? You know, it's like, sure, we can have conflict with other people, but like, what are these characters then and everything? Yeah. So it's like, but even then, like, the heart of it is still there. You know, the heart of Doctor Who is still here. The heart of Star Trek is still there, more or less. The heart of Star Wars is still definitely there. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, you also look at some of these things, like, especially with the Star Wars fandom, which I put that in quotes because while there is an actual Star Trek or Star Wars fandom, there's also just the Star Wars haters that just keep going, and they're driving me insane. But you have Star Wars, and it's like, okay, let's remove all of Star Wars from history. Let's take that original movie from 1977. Let's release that today. Would that have worked as well? I mean, it might just be this goofy little movie that people would go watch, but I don't know if Star Wars would have been the same success today as it was back then, you know? Yeah. But it's just like, but the heart is still there. Yeah. Mostly. And people will make arguments about Disney. If I never heard the word Disney again in fandom discourse, that would be so great. I hate that has now infected Doctor Who, because everyone's like, oh, well, now we're in the Disney era of Doctor Who. And it's like, oh, my God. Shut up. Disney doesn't do anything except pay the bills. That's it, you know? Yeah. Like, and even, like, someone pointed out, there was, like, one episode with Shudigawa where they pointed out, oh, yeah, this part in this episode, Disney asked for that to be changed a little bit. And they told me what the original thing was. And I was like, well, that's a good change. So then Disney was right, and that was a good thing to happen, you know? So, I don't know. Fandoms talking about anything is ridiculous. And it's such a weird thing, too, like, finding the levels of, like, you know... I find it's generally the live-action crowd are the most loud, angry crowd. And again, it's a very vocal minority, but still, it's like... But when I move over to, like, anime, the anime fandoms are so nice. They're so great. And, like, there was an anime recently I had to drop from the channel because I was just like, I don't like this. I do not like this. Every episode I was miserable, and I was like, I don't think this is good. And all of those fans were like, I disagree with what you're saying, but hey, that's your opinion and everything. I was like, what nice people. What nice people, because I was like, if this was Doctor Who, I would be nailed on a cross right now. So
you and John Lennon.
And back to Doctor Who.
Were we talking about Doctor Who?
I don't know.
I think I hear Lunch calling my name.
The only other thing to say is the face of Bo. The face of Bo being enigmatic, and
we will meet again.
We will meet again for the third time,
and last time.
For the third time, for the last time, where he will impart his last great secret to the Doctor. So, I wonder what that could be. I mean, I say that, I already know what it is. But,
well, tell me this. Is it with David Tennant or is it with a future Doctor?
No, it'll be resolved with David Tennant.
Okay.
So yeah, but that's more mystery, more setup. I mean, you know, we talk about the whole mystery box thing of Torchwood from last episode, but, you know, technically this is the first episode of the season and no mention of Torchwood in this one, so it's great. We got 2 mystery boxes going on now. So, but otherwise, good old big face of Bo. He was dying. He got better. So, and again, I do like the whole thing of, oh, the Doctor actually gets to be the Doctor today. Like, he actually gets to cure patients. Because I like they say at the beginning that, ironically, the Doctor doesn't like hospitals. It gives him the creeps. And it's like, then why are you called that?
Now, was it Hartnell or was it Troughton who revealed that he got a medical doctor's degree in Edinburgh in the 1800s?
It was Troughton.
Troughton. Okay.
I think that was in their first Cyberman story, where he was kind of talking about that, and because I think it was either Ben or Polly, or maybe Jamie, I don't know, maybe not Jamie, but questioning, like, oh, well, is your medical degree still good, you know, this far into the future? You got it in the 1800s, so yeah, but that medical degree came in handy, got all that, you know, all those IVs of Kool-Aid, and cured all of them, so... We went off. We went off on
just
a lot.
A tiny tangent.
This probably will end up being as long as the last episode. You know, I didn't even realize last episode, the actual episode, the Christmas Invasion, was an hour long, and I didn't even notice that. So it had an extra 15 minutes to what we normally watch, and I just didn't even notice it at all. So yeah. Anywho, leave your comments down below about one of the 9 topics we talked about. And yeah, that is pretty much it. With all of that being said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist with all of our modern Doctor Who reactions, as well as another playlist for all of our classic Doctor Who reactions. I saved it and you screwed it up. Sorry. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.